Now, wayofx opens up with, obviously, Legion and the Zorns meeting up with Professor X. I mean, that's not how it starts. It starts off with Emma reviving everyone who had been killed when Legion and Professor X decide to have their big fat argument. The Zorns tell him that Legion is trying to focus. Legion's trying to focus on talking to Nightcrawler, and he's venting a bit. They're trying to clock on to how to beat Onslaught. Now, Nightcrawler, on the other hand, has Fabian Cortez and this mutant here, Lost, who basically can make people throw up. They're both battling each other because they basically hurt each other, and they're both very angry about it. Now, Nightcrawler's trying to make them make peace with each other. Just let it out. As I said before, resurrection does occur for mutants now, and Nightcrawler, he wants to keep dying a more important factor in life, which, to be fair, mutants have sort of downplayed that, especially in New Mutants, where they're like, you know what, you guys are kids, you might as well just kill each other whilst learning, you're going to come back to life anyway. So Nightcrawler's like, yes, dying does matter, it should matter, because, I mean, if dying doesn't freaking matter, then living doesn't matter either, does it? And Fabian Cortez and both Lost do keep on battling. This leads to Nightcrawler getting very aggressive and actually letting some stuff out. He argues that the people themselves are the sacred land, and he says that the third law of Krakoa, respect the sacred land, is in reference to the people themselves. It's not about respecting the dirt, it's about respecting the people on the land, and the fact that they're both battling each other is breaking the law. And this leads to Nightcrawler going, I will freaking judge your asses, yeah, because I am part of the correct council, and you guys are freaking pissing me off. This leads to taking them to the top of Araco. Araco is currently on Mars. The mutants have taken over Mars, just in case you haven't clocked onto that. Read Planet-Sized X-Men if you want to find out how that happened. It's a solid book. Yeah, Mars is now taken over by mutants, and basically Nightcrawler takes Fabian Cortez and Lost, and he throws them up from there, and he's like, you know what, you two work together to save yourselves, basically. And basically Fabian and Lost, ultimately, after arguing the hell out of each other, they do try to work together, and Onslaught decides, no, you're not going to freaking work together. Now, this leads to Fabian Cortez really amping up Lost's powers. Now, Lost's powers are involved with gravity. This ends up to the moon Phobos, which flies around, which basically orbits the planet Mars, clocking onto Lost's gravitational powers, and this leads to Phobos coming crashing down to the planet Mars. Literally 10 minutes was all they freaking had. There was a sword station outside of Mars, Araco, and they were pretty surprised by it, because literally out of nowhere, the moon Phobos decided to crash into Mars, and they were like, yep, this is practically an extinction level event. You have 10 minutes to get off the planet, or you will pretty much be dead, which really scares the shit out of the Iraqi people, because all of a sudden, literally they have 10 minutes to flee the freaking planet before that moon comes crashing down. Fabian Cortez ends up frying Lost, and Lost is pretty much done for. This leads to Nightcrawler going to Fabian Cortez and being like, you know what, just give me the spark, amp me up, take me as far as I freaking can, because I think we can freaking say this. Whilst this all is going on, Abigail Brand was responding to the Sword Station review of this entire situation, and she absolutely banters them. It was really funny seeing that. Abigail Brand just ripping apart a lot of the formal conversations taking place on the Sword Station in regards to the Phobos incident. Now, Nightcrawler decides tells Fabian Cortez to really amp up his power, and this is probably prime Nightcrawler here. Yeah, Nightcrawler ends up teleporting an entire moon back into where it's meant to be. Like, that moon would have crashed into Mars and taken out practically the entire population there. But no, Nightcrawler ultimately ends up teleporting the entire moon to Mars. Whilst this all is going on, Legion clocks onto the fact, I think it's Legion or maybe Fabian Cortez, who clocks onto the fact that... Actually, wait, I think it's Legion who tells Nightcrawler... Actually, I don't remember it, and I don't think we're going to be able to find out. Ultimately, Fabian Cortez, I'm pretty sure, was the last person who had the knowledge that onslaught is coming in people's minds and their souls and stuff. It's basically taking over after people are brought back to life. Every person that's brought back to life, onslaught inserts himself in. That's where he's coming into people's lives. He's basically a part of the resurrection queue. He has somehow made for it that him as a psychic entity is slowly and steadily just implanting himself into all the mutants that are coming back to life. Now, Nightcrawler obviously takes the moon back into orbit, and as soon as he gets there, he's practically exhausted, and he ultimately ends up dying on that moon. Nightcrawler is brought back to life, and then ultimately Professor Xavier and Healer are like, yeah, Fabian Cortez probably couldn't make it, and Charles Xavier's like, Fabian Cortez has been very disruptive over the past few months and stuff, and we really should, after the stuff he's done on Sword and the stuff he's done on wayofx, he says that Fabian Cortez probably put back to the end of the line with the resurrections that are meant to take place. Now, Charles Xavier ultimately leaves Nightcrawler out. I don't think Nightcrawler knows that Fabian Cortez was the only person who had the knowledge of how Onslaught was inserting themselves, but ultimately after this we see the last page with Charles Xavier showing Nightcrawler, and we see the Onslaught entity's psychic avatar over all the people there, which means that Onslaught has practically inserted himself into everyone. And yeah, I think the book after this, which is Nightcrawler personally taking on Onslaught, I guess, is going to be the end with the Onslaught saga. I mean, the current Onslaught saga that's going on. Personally, I would actually expand it. I would give it a lot more time to breathe and grow, you know. That's what I would do with the Onslaught story. But each to their own, you know. If they can wrap this up pretty well, wayofx has been a pretty good book. They could actually finish off a good story here. So yeah, there's that.